Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy. Well, today I think I'm going to do a kind of a shop update, answer some questions that I've gotten on my YouTube channel and in some of the groups I participate in. I don't know if I'm going to do any turning today. We'll just have to see about that, but we'll address the questions and go from there. One question came from subscriber Andy Cohen in the UK. And he wanted to know, he really made me laugh. I guess the question was, do I ever turn anything normal? I think I do, but I guess if I think hard enough and deep enough, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't turn a lot normal. I will say that I have some normal pieces sitting around here, and I'm going to show you a few. I'll show you, demonstrate what my thought processes are as I'm trying to think of what to turn next, and show you what I can draw on in my shop, what kind of materials I have, and go from there. So the first piece, I'm probably like a lot of guys when I'm thinking about, maybe that'll be next or that'll be next. I kind of make a little pile of stuff, and this is one of the first things I added to that pile. It's a piece of cedar. It's an 1.5 inches, no, this one's 2 inches thick. Nice looking piece of wood. And I've already marked a circle on it. I don't know if you can see that circle, but I marked a circle on there, and I was going to take it to the bandsaw and cut the corners off and just make a bowl out of it. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll make a square corner bowl. I've done those before and they are fun. And then I saw a video, I'm sorry I don't have the man's name. If I get around to doing that, or I should say when I get around to doing that, I'll get his name. He made a terrific piece where he cut these corners off, just the corner, just like right here, on all 4 corners, and then the lower part of what he cut off became the leg, so 4 legs, and he cut a bowl, the outside of the bowl on the bottom, and of course the inside of the bowl on the top, and then these kind of rounded over corners. And standing on those 4 legs, it looked really cool, and I was impressed, and that's kind of what I thought I might do with this piece. Until today, when I noticed it does have a big crack right there at one of the corners, but it doesn't go deep, and maybe I wouldn't end up cutting that off anyway. I'm not sure. Anyway, so, I've got that sitting there ready to turn. I guess I'd call that a normal piece. Then I also have this that I set over here. I was pretty excited when I found this. This is a 15-inch wide piece of birch, and it's 1.25 inches, and I thought that would make a great tray. Maybe with about a 3-inch border around here that I could decorate with my spiraling tool. So that's a nice normal piece. 15 inches wide, you don't find that a lot. I've had this for many, many, many years, like 40. And I bought it from a cabinet shop 40 years ago. It was part of a much larger bowl, or larger board that I've cut other pieces from. So that's something I could do. I'm going to move the camera so I can show you this piece over here. Sorry for the shaking. See that dark piece of wood standing up there? Anybody know what that is? It's 14.5 inches wide at the widest point down at the bottom. 14 1/8 at the top. 1.5 inches thick and 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. And as I understand it, it's a very rare piece of wood and rather expensive piece of wood. This came from a cabinet shop. I bought all their materials 2 years ago, I guess. Much of that's behind me over here. And what they marked on the end of it, can you see that? Figured koa. As I understand it, koa only grows in Hawaii. And as I understand it, they do not commercially harvest it anymore. Beautiful piece of wood. Apparently worth hundreds of dollars. Maybe even more than that, I don't know. Like I say, I don't know that much about it. But I could certainly get some nice trays out of that, or plates, bowls. But because it's so valuable, I have to ask myself, am I worth it? Am I worth cutting this up? Or should I save it for my heirs to cut up? No. No, I don't think I should do that. Should I sell it? Can always use the money. Money's nice. But if I sell it, I won't have it. So what to do, what to do, what to do? Figured koa. Can you see this piece? This is similar to what I quite typically turn. It's just an old piece of firewood. I think it's alder. Make a nice natural edge bowl out of that. Kind of got mangled by the chainsaw. So that one's front and center. And I have some others over here you can't see. And I'm always thinking about those. What should I do next? What should I do next? So I'm walking around the shop yesterday, ignoring what I have sitting here. Nah, don't want to turn that. Nah, not that. So I found this. It's just a little scrap, just a cut off from something else. It is 9 inches long, about 6 inches wide, and if you're generous, you'd say it's about 1.25 inches thick. That's all it is, about 1.25 inches. Now, to me, this is intriguing. What can I make out of that? It's got a nice smooth bottom. I think I must have cut that off on the bandsaw, just cutting it off of some larger piece. This is a cherry, and I have turned a lot of cherry in the past. So I'm thinking turn a small bowl right in this area and just leave all this natural. Don't touch the edges at all. Got some nice bark along here. Gets down very, very thin on this edge. Pretty thin on this edge. So I'm thinking that's what I want to do next. So I've been working out how I'm going to hold it. With only 1.25 inches in thickness, I can't lose anything off the back. So I think probably what I'm going to do is put it between centers. Put my 4-prong center here in the thickest part, tallest part of the bowl, and then bring up the tailstock over here until I get this lined up absolutely flat, facing me on the lathe like that. And I'm going to cut a recess. Can't cut a recess if I have the tailstock there. So I think I'm going to cut a recessed tenon. I think I'm going to come in here from the side all the way around here and leave a tenon in the middle. Doesn't have to be very tall. Only about 1/8 inch is enough to grab it. And then I can turn it around and hollow it out here. And I think I'll have something worthwhile. So that's probably my next piece. I started to say at the beginning of this that I wanted to answer some questions, and one of those questions came from subscriber Andy Cohn in the UK, and he wanted to know, like I said, he made me laugh. He wanted to know if I ever turned anything that wasn't so seat of the pants terrifying. It just cracked me up. Just cracked me up. I've already shared that on Facebook with a few folks and my wife, and she thought it was funny too. And Andy, I appreciate that question. I sincerely do. I don't consider what I do terrifying. I understand where some folks might. I'm pretty careful. I don't get out in front of the piece. I'm always behind it. Well, almost always, whenever possible. And I just find things like this much more interesting than those others that I showed you. It isn't that I'm brave. I'm not brave. I'm an old guy. Maybe that's why it is. I'm an old guy, and I figure don't have that much longer to live. Might as well go for it. I don't know. So thanks, Andy, for that question, and I'll try and turn something normal pretty soon. The next question I wanted to answer came from a viewer, Dan, Lumberjacks Wood Turning Forum. And he asked me what the squeak is in my videos every time I turn on the lathe. So I'm going to bring you in here real close, and we're going to turn on the lathe, and we're going to see if you can hear a squeak. I cannot hear one, but again, I'm old. I can't hear anything. So hold on just a second. I'll get you rearranged. Okay, it's pretty quiet in here. I don't hear anything. I hear a little hum from my fluorescent lights. You can see the lathe is turned off. I do have my chuck on there. I tried this earlier because I wanted to satisfy myself what Dan might be hearing, and I just couldn't hear anything. I hear the motor hum, but I don't hear any squeaks. I don't hear anything that doesn't sound normal. So let me just turn it on. I think it's around 320 RPM, something like that. We'll just turn it on. You listen. Uh-oh. Now there's a jet flying over. Can you hear that jet? I'll try it during the jet, and we'll try it again after. Listen close. Anybody hear a squeak? Now what I did hear is a couple of clicks coming from my chuck. That's because it's not tight. If it was tight, you wouldn't hear those clicks. Let me tighten it up. Okay, let's try it again. The jet's gone. It's nice and quiet. Here we go. I'll bring it in real close. See if the microphone picks up anything. I'll pick up the speed a little bit. That's 1280 RPM. That's 2000 RPM. Yeah, I hear a whine from the motor, but that's just normal, I'm pretty sure. That's 3200 RPM. 3240, that's as fast as it'll go. I never turned that fast. There's 1000 RPM. That's kind of my normal working range. Well, when the piece is in balance. A lot of times around 600. Let's try 600. I'm right around there a lot of times. There's 630. I do hear a little squeak when it shuts down, and I'll bring you over here. Hold on. If I can get inside this cabinet where the belt is. Hold on. I'm sure you can probably hear the rubber belt on the pulleys. I hear it when it shuts down. Just turning it by hand here. I do hear some squeaking here. That's just the belt. The lathe is fairly new, what, maybe 8 months old, 9 months old by now, I guess, maybe. But as far as when it starts up, hearing a squeak, I don't. When it shuts down, when it's running real slow, I do. Let's see what it sounds like running real slow. Yeah, I hear a squeak. That's 144 RPM. I'm going to take the chuck off and see if that has any effect. Hold on. Okay, chuck's off. Spindle's unlocked. Let's turn it on, see if we hear anything. I do hear a squeak. I don't hear it on startup, but I hear it while it's running. I think it's just the belt. As far as the lathe goes, I love it. It's wonderful. It's everything I could ask for, really. Jet 1840, about nine months old. Sorry, Dan, if I'm driving you nuts with that squeak there. I think it's just normal. There's no vibration here at all. Rock solid. Speaking of rock solid, that was another question I got. Hope that addresses your issues, Dan. Another question was, now that I've had this lathe a while, a gentleman was asking me, or showing some interest in getting one for himself, or I think he was looking at the 1640. This is an 1840. And I think they're very similar lathes. I doubt if there's much difference in them. He asked me, with the sliding headstock and swiveling headstock, if I felt like it was stable, or if I felt like it ever slipped, or there was anything not normal about that. And I told him that I've never experienced any slipping. I've never experienced any rotation when I didn't want a rotation in the headstock or anything like that. As far as rotation of the headstock, you've got this lever, or not that lever, sorry, that's to change the belt. This lever down here, it's actually a pin, and you loosen this outside part. It's knurled, a knurled knob. You loosen that, and then you have to pull on it. And the other end of this fits into a little stop apparatus, and it locks in there pretty solid as soon as you let go. It's a pretty heavy spring. So you loosen this, pull out, rotate the headstock, let this go back in. It locks into one of those positions, and your headstock is swiveled out this way or wherever you want it. I can promise you it's a big heavy piece on the other end of this that goes into a wide slot, and it's not going to slip. Not going to slip. And then when you tighten this up, or actually before you tighten this up, you still do have some play in the headstock. It will come back and forth like this, and the reason for that, it's by design. It's so you can bring up your tailstock and match the centers up right here. And it's real easy to do. So this is in, but loose, and you can just slide this a little bit until those points match up, and then you just turn this to lock it down, and they're dead on. Easy to do, and it's by design. As far as the sliding of the headstock, you see this lever here? Up is locked. Now the only thing I don't like about that, I wish down was locked, because it's up here where I can see it. It is never in the way. It's never in the way. I don't really give it much thought, but I guess it would be nicer if down was locked and up was unlocked. But anyway, up is locked. You just push it down with a little bit of force, and now the headstock can slide back and forth across the ways. Pull it up, it's locked, and it's not going to slide. Couldn't move this if you wanted to. So there's that question answered. And I think that's about all that I had. I like this stuff. Anyway, there's a few questions answered. If you got more, I'd love to hear them. If you got suggestions for my channel, I'd love to hear those too. I do appreciate all the watchers and subscribers and likers and thumbs up guys. I love that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm having a lot of fun doing this. Any questions, feel free. Thanks for watching. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.